Greg?
Good morning, all.
Morning, Scotty.
Good morning.
Morning, Kelly.
Good morning.
I think
Good
that
morning,
was.
everyone.
Morning, Karen. Morning, Jill.
Well, hi, Karen. I haven't seen you in a while.
I know,
Karen-
indeed.
Karen's husband served on the school board with me for a number of years. They're that quintessential DC couple, basically, where he's a lobbyist for Republicans and she's a lobbyist for the Democrats.
I'm the
And
good
their
one.
kid- and their kids and their kids are very confused.
One is a registered independent, but I did manage to turn my younger, so I'm winning.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm going to recommend it's time, and if Supervisor Vasquez comes in, we'll have the motion.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and call the January 21 meeting of the Mountain Line Board to order. We'll go ahead and start with roll call.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. City of Flagstaff, Lori Matthews here. Thank you. Coconino County, Gerardo Vasquez, excused. City of Flagstaff, Miranda Sweet here. Thank you. NAU, Josh Mayer.
Here.
And CCC, Tony Williams.
Here.
Thanks. We have some guests with us online, our attorney Scott Holcomb.
Good morning.
And we have Karen Cruz from the Cruz Group.
Good morning.
Morning. And we have Jill Barnett and Kelly Mamidi from TransPro.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
And we have someone else joining. We have Mayor County Ronald Vasquez joining us.
Present.
And we have Jeff McKay from NAU has joined. Hello. And then we do have 5 members of the Free Mountain Line group in the back of the room with us in person. And 2 of them are interested in speaking under the call of the public. We also have staff here in the room and on Zoom. And I'll turn it back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead and item number 3, our safety minute. Oops.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Can everyone online hear me okay?
Yes, Sam.
Yes.
So today's safety minute is on winter driving and platform awareness as it relates to riding the bus. So January winter conditions increase risks for transit operations, both behind the wheel and on the ground. Snow, ice, and rain reduce visibility, require extra caution. The following are some key reminders for all staff. Allow extra following distance and reduce your speed. Smooth, gradual braking helps prevent skidding. Be alert for black ice, especially on bridges, shaded areas, and early morning routes. Approach stops slowly and watch for passengers slipping near curbs and platforms. Use handholds and 3 points of contact when entering or exiting a vehicle. Ensure your mirrors, cameras, headlights, and defrosters are clear and functioning before you leave. Safe operation depends on anticipation and patience. Taking a few extra moments in winter conditions help protect you, your passengers, and everyone sharing the roadway. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Now on to item number 4, milestone anniversary. Heather.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. So I have December and January milestone anniversaries to share with you. And I also have a bit of retirement news to share. So let me get my notes back up. Sorry. So want to celebrate Kate Morley. Although Kate no longer works for Mountain Lion, she works closely with us. And we're always so grateful. She started her career here with us 10 years ago. And really, what is there to say about Kate? Mountain Lion is fortunate to have Kate's understanding of transit and transit needs at the regional planning level. At MetroPlan, Kate is a trusted and reliable leader on multimodal conversations and is known for her advocacy for transportation funding. So really, congratulations to Kate and deepest gratitude for the partnership MetroPlan and Kate continue to offer Mountain Lion. I also want to celebrate Greg Mokta. Greg's actually here with us in the room today. Greg is celebrating 5 years as a facilities technician, and I still remember interviewing Greg for the position and being impressed with his presence. And I continue to be very impressed with Greg's presence in our workforce and in our workplace. But I wanted to share with you some comments from Greg's supervisor, Robert Hilbers. Reliable, strong work ethic, and consistent support of our facility operations have made a meaningful impact on Mountain Lion's daily success. Greg's pride in his work shows in everything he does. We appreciate his continued commitment to Mountain Lion and to the community. Greg continues to be a steady and trusted resource the team can rely on. So Greg, congratulations on 5 years, and here's to 25 more. Right? Thank you for coming in. Thank you for being here so we could celebrate you.
Real quick, and I gotta get going on my busy schedule.
Yes, you do.
Thank you for your support, and I enjoy working for Mountain Lion, and I will continue to do so and keep up that ethic, which I think was important.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.
You may, of course. Thank you. And then we do have Adrian, whose last name I am not going to butcher by attempting to say. He is celebrating his first anniversary as a transit operator here at Mountain Lion. I remember the first time I interacted with Adrian out in the field. He said to me, "I love driving this bus." A year later, he still says, "I love driving this bus." So just a real key component of how we deliver services in our community, and I'm proud to celebrate him. In January, we celebrated Geraldine Lewis's 10-year anniversary as a Mountain Lion operator. Geraldine is one of those quiet and stoic members of our team, and her supervisor had this to share. Geraldine is one of the core members of the crew, having been with us for 10 years. Her safety record is impeccable. She is one of our safest drivers. She is extremely good with children and dedicated to keeping them safe. Geraldine is very good at her job and seldom needs direction. This is why she is a favorite among the supervisors. That's our day-to-day supervisors for the extra board position, the person who fills in all the extra duties. Doing this job has an extra layer of challenges because she is a single mother. We hope that Geraldine will stay with us for many more years to come. And whenever I see Geraldine, I remind her that if she just stays 20 more years, she has a retirement waiting for her. So I'm happy to celebrate Geraldine's 10 years here at Mountain Lion, and I look forward to celebrating many, many more, as she's probably out driving the bus. And then I wanted to share with you, we had a surprising retirement in December. Many of you have probably met Bernice over the years here. Bernice actually was here when I was hired. She was part of my interview panel. She was our longest tenured employee. I think when she left, she was at 28 years in her position, definitely more than 25. She did announce her retirement late December. Her knowledge about our programs and clients will be sorely missed, and she certainly has played a key role in many of our policies, procedures, and success stories. So we're happy to celebrate her many, many years here at Mountain Line. And although she couldn't be here today, I did want to share with you because she's part of the heart of who we are. And we do certainly recognize and celebrate her retirement. That's everything I have for milestone anniversaries and retirements.
Thank you. Right, we'll move on to call the public, and just a reminder that the board is prohibited by open meeting law from discussing or considering or acting on any items that are raised during the open comment period. So
Nico Gooden, would you like to come up and speak?
we have 3 minutes. Would
you like me to come to the podium up there?
Sure.
Or, and I'm gonna just leave it here, you guys know.
Or if you're,
Sorry.
whatever, wherever you're.
Or the online in here.
Is Siri okay? All right. Good morning, guys. All right. So my comment is going to be deeply personal, a bit more than my other teammates. There are a plethora of issues as to why I'm really interested in the topic of fare-free Mountain Line, but a specific one I think a lot of you are familiar with, the Flagstaff Shelter Services. I know some people here have even worked with them in the past. I currently am a coordinator for their 2 non-congregate shelters, one of them being for families facing chronic homelessness and the other one being for disabled and elderly people. It's been 2 months that I've been with them. It's been honestly kind of hard to get through. I know that there's not a lot that we personally can do about homelessness. We can't change the system as it is. But one thing that I know you guys can help out with, or at least consider, is the bus passes and with the free fare for my clients. We get so little of these bus passes that help them out, because I know that you guys, this is something that you guys provide, that you are trying to help out with the homeless population. But there's so little of them. They can only be given out by our HR director, and they're only given out on weekdays. There's the paratransit service, but that only runs every so often as well. Having people come up to me and tell me, you know, they can't afford gas, they can't drive, or they can't afford to drive. They can't afford even the discounted bus passes that are given to homeless people. It's just a lot to hear, not only for my personal interest and for the interest of college students who are struggling a lot financially. I'm thinking, if I'm struggling to pay for these things and if I'm having a hard time going outside of Route 10, how is this for the people who I'm working with who can't even afford to find housing here? Again, we can't change the system as it is, and there's not the whole entire world that we can do that for, but I know that you guys do care. Just from speaking with you, especially Heather, I really appreciate you guys, and I will appreciate any work that you do in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and Evan Yeager.
Good morning. My name is Evan Yeager, and I've been working on the Mountain Line Free project for about a year now. I would like to see the Mountain Line fare free for all Flagstaff residents by August of 2027. I recognize this comes with issues and hardships. I believe we are capable of making this change if we work together. I imagine positive changes that come with the Mountain Line being fare free. I imagine Flagstaff becoming a trailblazer for transportation as Tucson did in 2020, the stigma around riding the bus weakening in Flagstaff, a healthier environment, and a more accessible transport to a more accessible healthcare facility. The truth is, there is support for this movement. We have emails and letters and artworks and us and some of you to prove it. I understand this would not be a simple process. I also understand this company and board are capable of doing hard things. My request is for those of you who believe in us, please speak to those who differ in opinion. For those of you who have concerns about the project, please contact me or my group, as we would love to meet with you. I do not expect us to agree on everything, but why stand stagnant when we could work together to improve our own community? I understand there are setbacks. I understand there are worries of the unsheltered community using the bus as shelter. I know there are worries of federal funding. I know there are worries of improving the buses before making them fare free. But let's work together on these issues and meet in the middle rather than giving up because it feels hard. Nothing free is actually free. I know this, you know this, but we can use this fact. Where you see setbacks, I see opportunities for discussions and compromises. We do not have all the answers, but this is why we ask for support from you. I've heard, I agree, but it's not gonna happen. Give us why, give us hows, give us ideas. I want this, we want this, your community wants this. You want to get the community where they need to go, let's make it even easier. Please give it thought and do not hesitate to reach out. I also have letters written from the community if I would be able to give those out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, on to approval of minutes. We have 3 meetings to approve. I'd like to take those as one, unless anybody objects. So the regular meeting of October 15th, the boarding tack advance, November 19th, and the special meeting of 12/1/25. Like to entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes of October 15th, November 19th, and December 1st.
I'll second.
Thank you. Has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And on to item number 7, the Leadership American Public Transportation Association report. Jackie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
So Heather did share in a previous meeting that I forgot to talk in the microphone, that I had the opportunity to participate in the Leadership APTA. That's the American Public Transportation Association, which is the biggest transportation organization in the United States. I had the opportunity to participate in their class of 2025 Leadership APTA program. And I just wanted to come back and give you all a little bit of a glimpse of the experience that I had, because it was such an incredible opportunity. And I'm so grateful to leadership here and our board for allowing me to have this opportunity and hopefully bringing a lot back to Mountain Lion and Flagstaff through what I was able to learn. So just a little, that's pulled from their website, a little bit about the program. So it does say 25 people there. There were actually 33 people in my class. From what I understand, it's a pretty rigorous and competitive application process. I did actually apply twice for it, so over 2 years, and learned a lot from my first application in order to have a successful one. And so it is people from across the country and both transit agencies, so peers at transit agencies, as well as people who work on the private sector. So those who work at the vendors that support us. And the idea is that you are in a leadership position and ready to learn more and bring more to the transit industry. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about kind of the highlights for me from this program and what I was able to learn. So I think the number one thing, and this is what they refer to it as, is building my kitchen cabinet. And that is the group of people that I am going to go to when I have questions, when I need advice, when I need to know someone else's experiences with something. And those are the 32 other people that I did this class with. They have become family to me. We spent a year together. It is a year-long program, and it's a lot of, there were, a few in-person things, but a lot of online, a lot of virtual time together. We have a WhatsApp chat that I can't even begin to describe to you. But there's also, from the professional development standpoint, they have been such a tremendous support, and I've been able to be a support to them as well. I was by far the smallest agency representative in this class, but I think because we are a smaller agency, I think our perspective on things is often something that these larger agencies don't think of. So I think my classmates also appreciated that as well. At some of the in-person events we did, we had a lot of executive roundtables. So I had the chance to hear from Heather's peers, other CEOs from transit agencies around the US about their challenges, about the things that excite them, about what they're looking forward to, or what they are maybe a little bit scared of in the future of transit. And because these were closed meetings, they were not public. We got some real honest talk from people, which, you know, these CEOs that are very buttoned up and out there and, you know, in public, but they, I mean, I heard some language from some of them about some things. And it was just such a cool experience to have that real talk from these other CEOs about their experiences. And then we did a lot of deep dives on some relevant topics. So things like AI, building trust and support, leadership styles, learned more about that. Presentation skills was a big one. I got a lot more comfortable without using notes on my presentations. Things like procurement. So every time we were together, and when we were together, we started at 7 a.m. and we most nights went till 7 p.m. and it was a full day of presentations and workshops and things along those lines. Another thing that we did that I think is a really cool experience is we all did, it's called Leadership APTA TED Talks. So it's a personal TED Talk. So it's about something personal to you. And the idea is this is a room of it's a safe room. And people got very personal. Some were funny, some were, but some were very heart-wrenching. And I feel like I know those 32 other people in a way that I would not have known without those TED Talks. And then the kind of piece de resistance of all of it is the capstone project. So you get divided into smaller groups. I had 5 people total on my team, and you tackle a topic. So we started with a laundry list, and there was a lot of Excel formulas and voting to narrow things down. But ultimately, you end up doing almost a year-long capstone project. And so mine was Ready, Set, AI, risk, readiness, and real world use. So it was focused on AI in the transit industry. So through these projects, you interview CEOs, you interview executives, you interview people in the private sector about your topic, and you come up with 2 basic things at the end. You have an executive summary about a 10-page paper marketing piece about your topic, and you do a presentation. So you do a group presentation at the APTA Transform Conference, which is the big APTA conference. And was the culmination of our program, was presenting it. We also had the opportunity to, our group, because we had a topic that is pretty timely, pretty relevant. We've actually presented a few more times. People who saw our presentation at the APTA conference wanted us to present at other committees, other things like that. So ours has actually lived on, and we've been able to do it a little bit more. So this is kind of what our presentation looked at. We looked at the readiness of the transit industry to delve into AI, what we're doing now, so what the transit industry is doing, risk and mitigation, the policies that need to be in place around it, and then how to roll it out. I will share interviewed a bunch of very cool people about this project. And my favorite story, our very first interview, was with a lawyer from the New York MTA. So he's, the biggest transit agency in the United States. And he gave what I thought was just an amazing example of how they're using AI. So they were having a significant problem with fare evasion. So people doing things in a variety of ways to evade fares. And so they used AI to look at how and when that was happening, how people jumping over, are they going under, or what is happening, and then what time. And they noticed a really big trend around the time of day. So they didn't have a person out there. They weren't paying a person to go look at all this. They were using their AI tools. But then a human came in and looked at the data and said, okay, this is happening a lot around school, K through 12 start and end times. So they went to the schools and they developed a pass program for the K through 12 schools to be able to use to make it easier for students to have transit passes. And they saw a tremendous reduction in their fare evasion. So just what I thought was a very cool example of using AI, but then also using a human to truth things out and to come up with a solution. So as I mentioned, we presented this at the conference, which was in Boston this past fall, and we graduated from the program. We all got our diplomas, walked across the stage. And so I was just very honored to be able to participate in this program. And I know that I've already been able to bring things that I learned from that to Mountain Line, and I hope to continue doing so, and hope to continue calling upon those 32 other individuals that you see there in their expertise. And I look forward to see all of them grow in their careers as well. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Jackie.
Great presentation.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. On to item number 8, election of the vice chair, board of directors.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. So I want to thank Rhonda for preparing the staff report, but I offered to speak to it. So it is that time of year where we have members who ascend to chair positions, and then we have members who are put into the vice chair position. Normally, under our new rules of procedure, new from about 2 years ago, this is just an automatic assignment. We have one member from each agency. That member is then assigned to either chair or vice chair. With the city of Flagstaff, because of the population that we serve with our transit programs here, we have 2 city of Flagstaff members that sit on our board of directors, which then calls for the need to elect one of those 2 persons into our vice chair. So as per the staff report, the city of Flagstaff is the partner agency that has 2 board seats. The rules of procedure do not specify which member should assume the vice chair role or when it is their turn to serve. I did reach out to legal to be sure that I understood what we should do in this situation. And first was if one member declines, then the other member can be appointed by the board. If both members are interested, then there would be a call for a nomination and a vote to choose that vice chair. So ultimately, my goal today was to present this as factual information and turn it over to you to determine whether there is one member, and we're talking specifically about Director Matthews and Director Sweet, who is not interested in the position. And if that is true, then we can move to put the other member in the seat. If both of you are interested, then the board will need to conduct a vote.
And they're all declined this time.
Okay, you're on the mark for next time?
Well, you know, it's an election year.
I
and
know.
Who knows, right? So, it's just not the right time for me for sure.
Understood. So Director Sweet, are you willing?
I'm willing and happy to become vice chair if that's the will of the board.
Okay. So I think Chair Mayor, I would ask that the board vote on putting Director Matthews in the vice chair position, Director Sweet in the vice chair position based on Director Matthews' decline of the position. I'll just pause briefly and ask legal if I handled this correctly. Scott, are you there?
Yes, yep, I'm here and you did fine.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Clarify, we'll just need a motion. To
Appoint,
appoint, Director Sweet as vice chair.
correct.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and call for that motion.
Chair, I'd like to to appoint Director Sweet as vice chair to Mountain Lion.
Okay, thank you. And a second. Director Vasquez. And any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you for your willingness to serve, Vice Chair. So on to item number 9, strategic plan update.
So I am going to just briefly reintroduce Jill Barnett with TransPro, who's going to walk us through where we're at now in preparing the strategic plan that will come back to the Board of Directors in February. She's going to cover kind of activities that have taken place since the November retreat and what those next steps are to get us to that final document for your consideration next month. So with that, Jill, I'll turn it over to you and I will be happy to click.
Thank you so much, Heather. And I do apologize to you guys in advance. I am unfortunately at the airport today, so I'm going to move quickly, but not too quickly for you. So thank you so much for the opportunity to deliver the strategic plan update board. As Heather said, my name is Jill Barnett with TransPro Consulting. I'm glad to be with you today to just give you an update of what has taken place so far. Next slide, please. As you know, board, You participated in stakeholder interviews. We held more than 15 of those prior to kicking off the strategic plan with the workshop. We have had 3 facilitated workshops to date. And in those workshops, we have updated and affirmed mission, vision, and values for Mountain Line. As part of that first workshop where you guys were present along with the TAC, we established 4 success outcome areas, 4 strategic focus, defined what measurable success looks like, and with the team, we have identified the work that will achieve success. So with those more than 15 interviews, that was with board members, TAC members, as well as the Mountain Line leadership team. We've had an in-person workshop in November with the board, leadership, and TAC. And then again, 2 engagements with the Mountain Line leadership team, 1 in person and 1 virtually. Mountain Line's mission, extremely strong, penetrates throughout the organization. Everyone is able to repeat that to us. It's very strong and it's on all your vehicles, getting you where you want to go. So no change here. Made a slight adjustment to the vision. Had some input from you guys as well as from the team. And where we landed as leading the way with sustainable transportation that connects communities and provides value for all. Moving on to Mountain Line's values, how we show up for one another, how we show up for the community. Really strong values here throughout the organization, customer commitment, collaboration, respect, integrity, and embrace challenges. You might see a slight adjustment here. This used to be embody challenges, but throughout the workforce, embrace is a word that really seemed to be more accepted amongst the team. You'll notice sustainability used to be here. The omission from this list does not mean sustainability is not important. Sustainability is foundational to Mountain Line, just like safety. It is a lens through which decisions are filtered. It is the basis of many decisions and judgments throughout the day. There is, as Heather reminded me, a Mountain Line organizational sustainability policy that applies throughout the organization as well. So moving on to those success outcomes, some organizations call these strategic priorities or focus areas. For Mountain Line, you guys had a hand in choosing these: service excellence, employee investment, fiscal stewardship, and community value. So really appreciated the board's participation back in November when we really went around the room, talked about strengths and weaknesses, what's important to the organization, where we want to really deliver outstanding service, and where we want to place our efforts and focus. So now that we have success outcome areas, how do we define that? What does that mean? So in each of these areas, we've established a definition of the top line metric that will be measured throughout the organization to help define what this is. So for service excellence, this is establishing a baseline percentage of customers. Give me just a moment. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. So establishing a baseline for the percentage of customers who are satisfied or very satisfied with Mountain Line service on both fixed route and on demand. And the way that this will take place is through a customer satisfaction survey. Employee investment, Mountain Line has a longstanding practice of administering an employee engagement survey. So we will continue to work with the team to do that and measure that. For fiscal stewardship, Mountain Line will look to maintain the required operating fund balance at 25% of the 5-year operations cost forecast. And for community value, similar to service excellence, this will be measured through establishing a baseline of the community that believes Mountain Line brings value to the region using a community survey. So this is people who may use Mountain Line, but may also just be members of the community who are funding the service or owning a business or where customers use Mountain Line. They do not have to be a customer themselves. Moving on to Mountain Line's scorecard, you may be used to seeing this called a performance report. We tend to use the word scorecard, but wherever Mountain Line lands on the name of this is up to your agency and what resonates best. These are the different metrics in each of these areas that will be measured, looking to move the needle on success in service excellence, success in employee investment, in community value, and fiscal stewardship. So in each of these areas, you see that this top line metric is gray. That is how that particular success outcome is defined. Something we really pride ourselves on at TransPro is working with teams to identify the work that it takes to achieve success defined by their strategic plan. And then not only tying that work back throughout the workforce to their work and efforts each day, but how does that tie to the strategic plan and really move the needle to achieve success? I have worked in organizations where the strategic plan was a nice bound document that lived on the corner of a desk or on a bookshelf or on a website. We don't want that to happen. We want this to live throughout the work each and every day that Mountain Line does. And in each of these tactics, they will have a champion or an owner. You see deputy GM listed on several lines there, finance director listed on several lines there. Megan and Jackie will not be the only two people involved in that. Obviously, they will have help from their teammates, but they will be responsible for championing that and making sure that that plan and work is taking place. So what are the next steps? We will work with the Mountain Line team to finalize the scorecard, finalize the tactics register, give them some things to think about, both in terms of the items listed and milestones along the way. Are these things that the team can reasonably do? We'll develop a draft of the strategic plan and then come back to you and the TAC as stakeholders for some follow-up, give you opportunity to provide us with feedback. Then we'll finalize that strategic plan and present that to you for board adoption, and we are on track to do that at your February board meeting. We will also be working with the strategic plan and success as it is defined to design a CEO evaluation tool to be used now and in the future. I would be happy to take any questions and do want to offer one additional apology. I know there is a lot of background noise and I am sincerely apologize for that. Appreciate your patience.
Thank you, Jill. Do we have any questions or direction for either Jill or staff? All right.
Happy travels.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jill.
All right. On to item number 10, the grant application for battery electric buses.
So I want to preface a little bit. Normally, we would not come to you and ask you to approve a federal application for something that's already awarded. This is in-house process that we normally handle. The reason I'm called this out specifically and brought it back to you is really related to the challenges we had a year ago. Change in federal priorities resulting in grant applications being called into questions, funds being threatened, et cetera. So to give a little bit of background, you may recall we had awards for 6 low or no emission vehicles. We have now ordered 4 hybrids. We are actually expecting those hybrids to be delivered in September of 2026. That's right now the expected delivery date. So we still have these 2 remaining vehicles. And what I offered to you at the time is let's sit on that and we'll come back and consider it. So here I am today asking for you to give us some thoughts and consideration. So the remaining award, so these are awarded funds, and what we're trying now to do is obligate them. And when we obligate them, that's when all these things get called into question again. Even though they were awarded, it's related to change in administration. The award is for 2 low or no emission vehicles, which gives us a lot of flexibility to make a determination around the options of a hybrid bus or a battery electric bus, just remembering that hydrogen is not a fleet type that we are considering at this time. We have time. There's not a lot of risk on these funds. There was risk last year. There's not this year. These funds don't expire for another 18 months. September 30 of every year is when those funds expire. So it's a little over 18 months because it's 2027 when we start to put the funds at risk. We have a ZEB transition plan that calls for us to continue replacing our fleet with no emission vehicles. The manufacture and delivery timeline of a bus now is up to 30 months. At the time that we ordered the last 4 buses, we were told it would be 24 months. They're now telling us to expect as much as 30 months for this. And that really has to do with, it doesn't take them that long to build the bus. It takes us that long to get to the delivery, to the line to be manufactured. It's about 8 weeks to build a bus. If we order the buses by July 1st, just to give you a timeline expectation, we still would anticipate delivery by the end of 2028, which is really appropriately timed to the next round of vehicle replacements that we have need for. When we talk about the application to obligate these funds, again, they're awarded funds. We're following FTA's 2-step process, award and then obligation. The obligation application takes as little as 6 weeks, as much as 8 weeks, sometimes longer, but in really historically, we've seen 6 to 8 weeks. So we're recommending that we go ahead and move forward with attempting to obligate for no emission vehicles. And if within 8 weeks of that attempt, we are unsuccessful, then we modify and go back to low emission. That allows us to order those buses by July 1st, just following that timeline of events. I want to point out, I'm carefully staying clear of words like zero emission. Federal government has had a bus and bus facilities program that has included low and no emission vehicles for almost 20 years now. It's how we've bought all of our hybrid buses. So we are going to rely on that language that historically has been upheld and supported by the various administrations in Washington, D.C., in the hopes that it helps ease the way on this application for obligation. We have seen our partners at other transit agencies successfully do this. Our friends in Missoula, Montana, I think, were successful in getting 12 no emission buses approved last year when everybody else was getting theirs called into question. So we're going to borrow their application and try and mimic some of the language that maybe doesn't call attention and ire of people who don't support a policy on zero emission vehicles. Ultimately, I wanted to present this to you as our plan, ensure that you approve it so it is an action item, so that when we make an edit or change path, I know that you are aware of that and support it. And we will, of course, keep you updated in the coming months under current events of what those steps are. I really believe that we'll be successful in obligating these funds for zero emission, no emission, supporting our ZEB plan, and really what our intent is to move our vehicles even further into less carbon emissions vehicles.
Questions or comments? Or Heather?
I'll make a comment.
Sure.
Outside of, I think it's a great plan. And it's very smart to be conscious of just the words that you use. I've been involved in other breakout sessions and discussed like how do you navigate through changing administrations and stuff, and just changing some key words makes all the difference. So I appreciate that you're conscious of that, and I think that's a great plan. So I'm supportive of it.
Thank you.
Right, the thing is, speaks to the importance of being nimble.
Yeah.
And I think that's, and allowing for, should you hit a roadblock in this process, it still allows us to move forward and get rid of additional vehicles.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, the obligation, we're finally at that point where we have to decide, put in an obligation of how we're going forward. We can't wait any longer, correct?
We could wait longer. What it puts at risk is I'm conscious of how long bus delivery is going to take, and I'm very hesitant to get us in line. So if we get in line for the wrong propulsion type, if we get in line for zero emission and then later switch to low emission, it could put us back at the beginning of the line again. And we ran into that. That's one. So our buses are coming in about 4 months behind where we were originally anticipated to have them delivered. And it's because we got in line for no emission battery electric buses. And then 8 months into it, we said, oh no, sorry, put us in the other line for hybrid, low emission, and it changed our delivery timeline. And so to me, it's more the how long we have to wait in line that's driving this to be a decision now than it is the funding or any other need to make a decision. Is strictly being driven by how long the line is for these buses. And quite frankly, getting in line for these buses before Los Angeles orders a bunch of buses to support the Olympics is really an important thing for us to be thinking about.
And your gut feeling, you think we'll be able to get zero emission?
I think if we call these no emission vehicles
No emissions.
and use that language that is really written into the federal circulars that have been upheld in the courts, I think we will be successful. Yes.
We have a question or comment from Jeff McKay online.
Hi, thanks. So we are, NAU is in process of ordering one electric bus. And like you said, the wait time is incredible on it. But we would have particularly interest in Route 10 being an electric bus to match to what we're trying to do on campus, if that helps with any of this decision making as well.
So I would love to follow up with you on your comments. I will just a little perspective. So those Route 10 is currently served with 60-foot buses. Those 60-foot buses were purchased with an intended life, I think, of 15 years. So we are probably approaching a point where we need to start thinking about how to replace them. And our intent is to replace them with battery electric buses. The 60-foot buses are hard to shift into other areas of the community. There are certain areas those 60-foot buses do not perform well. And in winter, the articulate buses are much like a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So when they are in 2-wheel drive, they're pushing, not pulling. And the fun part about articulated buses is the pushing is from the rear lightest part of the vehicle, and it's pushing the heaviest part of the vehicle. So it just bends. It doesn't actually go anywhere. The back end doesn't push the front end on icy roads. So then we have to take them out of service. So there's just all kinds of service challenges around the 60-foot buses. Route 10 works very well for them because we've come up with a detour that works around those snow conditions. My challenge, I'm trying to answer your question, that replacing them early is, quote, not necessarily a problem if I could find other uses for them, because I'm committed to using them for at least 15 years. But I'd be happy to follow up with you, Jeff, and NAU on really the long-term replacement plan for those vehicles. When we replace them, our intent is to replace them with battery electric vehicles.
I think this is all fodder for our study that will be together with.
We will put a pin in that and make sure that we include it in those conversations.
Thanks.
Of course.
Any other questions for Heather? My only question was, is there any difference in the delivery timeline based on the type of bus that we might be pursuing?
There used to be. So when we ordered our battery electric buses, we were told, well, if you order a hybrid, it's 18 months, not 24 months. Everyone is rushing to buy other vehicle types now. And so it's flipped. The hybrid bus is actually now taking longer than the battery electric. I anticipate that battery electrics are 2 years, the hybrids are 30 months. But we will know that better when we get down to a point of really making the order, and we will provide that update.
Okay. There are no further questions or comments for Heather. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Don't move.
I'll second.
Thank you both.
That's easy or not.
Thank you. Vasquez and Matthews. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
And now, as Jeff teed up, discussion on, the comprehensive transit alignment. And we have, Lizzie Collins.
Thank you, Chair and Directors. Next slide, please, Rhonda. I'm really excited to talk about this comprehensive transit alignment that Mountain Line and NAU have been discussing for about 6 months. Our mutual goals for the program are guiding this effort and are listed here. And I wanted to share some of the duplication mentioned in the goals. Maybe you're not familiar with the various route alignments. So pictured here, we have both the NAU routes and the Mountain Line route is the maroon route, and the NAU routes are the remaining green, yellow, blue. And so we do have quite a bit of duplication, as you can see on Beaver Street, University Drive, Knowles Drive, and McConnell Drive. And that is definitely something we are hoping to increase efficiency through this effort. Next slide, please. Phase 1 was implemented on January 1st, 2026. From a rider's perspective, the only thing that changed is NAU shuttle service is now messaged as public transit through both of our websites and a public transit sticker near the NAU bus boarding door. However, the NAU transit program has never had a policy or practice of prohibiting any rider from using their buses due to not being a student or faculty. An intergovernmental agreement is attached in the board packet and outlines the terms of this phase 1. Please note it does not change our current Route 10 agreement. This agreement, phase 1 agreement, had 0 fiscal impacts outside of staff time, so no financial transactions were made. FTA has requirements for public transit, so Mountain Line and NAU work together to gather documentation demonstrating compliance. NAU is already subject to a majority of these requirements, including the Americans with Disabilities Act, Drug and Alcohol Program, and Drug-Free Workplace under their funding requirements. So we were able to complete this step quickly. By making NAU service public transit, Mountain Line can now include NAU service data with Mountain Lines. And that's what we're working together on now with monthly data collection. And then come July, we'll work together on annual data collection for our federal reporting requirements. This effort will help secure all possible small transit intensive cities or STIC funding because our combined service data will easily exceed large urban system averages. It also unlocks grant opportunities currently only available to Mountain Line. For example, when we applied for grant funds for the CDL course, a bus storage facility for NAU was also included. However, since the NAU shuttle was not clearly public transit, the bus storage facility was denied by FTA. So completion of phase 1 allows NAU to access that kind of grant funding. Next slide, please, Rhonda. Future phases will be determined through the operational assessment, which we've mentioned a couple times, and NAU will participate as a project partner. And the operational assessment will analyze options and allow us to collaboratively decide what our future comprehensive transit alignment and associated fiscal impact looks like. We do anticipate this will result in numerous benefits for NAU and Mountain Line. And that's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Busy. Any questions for Busy or Jeff, if you had anything to add? I wanted to give you the opportunity to do that.
I'm all set at this point. I'm still waiting some approvals on our end, but I'm trying to push that every day.
Thanks, Jeff. Any questions for Busy?
Chair, if I may, Director McKay, can I ask Director McKay a question, please?
Yep.
Yeah, so since you're waiting for approvals, I don't think the substance of the agreement obviously is going to change, shouldn't change. But do you think the terms of the agreement may change?
I haven't seen anything dramatic changes. It's just, it has to go through our process. It just went through the risk office and now it's through our council. and waiting it to get it back from them.
Okay, and Chair, members of the board, the reason I bring that up is in case there's, some wording changes or something that's doesn't substantially change the terms of the agreement. Other government entities I deal with sometimes have the motion to approve the agreement and give the CEO and legal to make any changes, to finalize the agreement and sign it. So that if there are any changes, we do not have to bring the agreement back to the board.
And I can share that feedback if it's okay, our team over here as well. Does that make sense at this time?
Yeah. So I'm just suggesting that when you make the motion, give the authority to the CEO and your general counsel or to make to finalize and sign the agreement.
So as Scott, this was not something that we were scheduled to vote on, and we're just going to provide direction. Would it be appropriate now to allow for those motions, those actions to take place?
Yeah, since this is on there and to provide direction, I think that would be the direction you could give to them. I think the CEO generally has, as long as it's within the scope of the agreement and approval, unless the board has some concern, I think give that direction to them and vote to give that direction. Heather, are you comfortable with that?
If I may, Chair, we were going to approve this agreement under the delegation of authority because we did not believe that this IG amendment was contentious or required the board to necessarily act on it. So we've been treating these as informational updates on the relationship and the intended deliverables and not so much intending to bring the agreement back. So if you would like to give us direction to bring the agreement for you to consider, we can certainly agendize that. But we have been treating this as okay for the CEO to sign under the delegation of authority for intergovernmental agreements.
Yeah. And Chair, if I may, I am comfortable with that. I think that's totally within the authority, and I apologize if I overstepped.
Thank you. Appreciate your insight and your input on that. So unless any members of the board would like to do something differently, we'll give you the opportunity to weigh in here. If not, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Scott.
Izzy.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item number 12, the 26 employee engagement survey results with Sam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. This morning, I'll be speaking with you about the annual Mountain Line Employee Engagement Survey. So Mountain Line conducts an employee engagement survey every year, and I've done so since 2002. The employee engagement tool is an excellent tool for measuring overall satisfaction and gaining valuable feedback from our staff. This year it was done completely online and also completely managed by a third party, which is TransPro. So next I'd like to introduce you to Kelly from TransPro, who will now give you the employee engagement survey results for fiscal year 2026.
Thanks, Sam. Is there a next slide here? Sorry. Just the title slide. Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Milady. I work at TransPro Consulting as Survey Services Lead. I appreciate your time today as I walk through high-level results from Mountain Line's fourth wave of their employee engagement survey with TransPro. Throughout the slides, I'll focus mainly on three things. So where engagement is strong, where there may be opportunities, and then how this feedback can inform next steps. Next slide. So we'll start with a brief overview of how the survey was administered, then move into key results and trends, and then close with some recommendations. Next slide. starting with methodology, obviously a super important part of administering a survey. So the survey was administered to employees across administrative, maintenance, fleet, and facilities and operations divisions. Employees had multiple ways to participate, including tablets, QR codes, and emailed links. And responses were collected anonymously and reported at a summarized level. This is, again, the fourth wave of the survey, allowing us to look at trends over time and understand how perceptions are evolving. And just a quick note that what you'll see today are agency-wide results. Additional detail and deeper breakdowns are available in a more comprehensive deck if helpful post-presentation. Next slide. So Mountain Line's overall employee engagement score for wave 4 is a 74. And before getting into the details of what generated that number, I want to provide some context around that number. Employee engagement scores are not intended for agency to agency comparison. A lot of people want to jump to that. How do we compare with other agencies? Each organization operates within a unique workforce and service environment, so it just wouldn't be it wouldn't really make sense to compare yourself directly to other organizations. So based on our experience administering employee engagement surveys across a range of transit agencies, a score in the mid-70s reflects a strong level of engagement and is a number that should be celebrated amongst the team. The results point to a stable, engaged workforce with clear strengths and identifiable opportunities for continued improvement, providing a solid foundation for Mountain Line to continue to build on. So looking at what's driving that score, employees report very high satisfaction with Mountain Line's commitment to creating a welcoming environment, a strong sense that their job performance matters to the organization's success, and then alignment around problem solving to improve service to the community. And then at the same time, you'll see the results also highlight clear opportunities. So particularly around how employees feel their feedback is received, recognized, and acted upon. Scores related to taking feedback seriously, recognition for process improvement, and consistent treatment across the organization suggest areas where leadership focus and communication can further strengthen engagement going forward. And then you'll see on the far right, the employee tenure. So it just shows the breakdown of how long employees have been at Mountain Line. So just obviously important to have a mix of tenure in there and longevity of being at Mountain Line and taking all of those opinions into context. Next slide. So now we'll jump into employee engagement index results. We'll look at that 74 broken out a little deeper. Next slide, Sam. So as I just said, on the next slide, you'll see that employee engagement index again. But for reference, this is measured using 4 core elements: understanding what success looks like, working in a safe environment where perspectives are invited, having the tools and resources to do the job, receiving feedback from supervisors. And looking at engagement through these dimensions helps leadership understand not just how employees feel overall, but why they feel that way. Next slide. So that brings us back to the score itself. So a 74, which was discussed earlier, reflects that healthy level of engagement. The fact that this score has held, you can see it holds steady across these individual elements over the past 3 waves tells us that engagement is more resilient amongst the agency. It's not really moving, which is a good sign, especially on the negative side. The opportunity is really moving from that stability to more gradual improvement. So by addressing specific friction points, you'll see those as we move deeper into the details in the coming slides. So in the next, I think 5-ish slides, we'll discuss agency-wide results for performance, feedback, job satisfaction, management, and employee safety. When we look at performance, there are a couple of really strong signals here. So first, you see 93% of employees believe their job performance is important to the success of Mountain Line, which tells us people clearly see how their work matters. We also see a good role clarity. So with 87% saying their responsibilities are clearly defined. Onboarding results, you see those do fluctuate a bit. And that's, I think, largely because this question is only asked of employees who started within the last year. So normal for the group to change from wave to wave based on those newer employee perceptions each year. And then where we do see consistently see an opportunity is around ongoing job specific training. So you'll see that score sits at 67%, which I think suggests employees understand their roles, but maybe want more support in continuing to build skills over time. Next slide. So this slide here zeroes in on feedback specifically. 76% of employees say they are encouraged to learn from mistakes and continue to develop their skills, which speaks to a supportive growth environment amongst the employees at Mountain Lion. We also see a fairly stable result around supervisors providing frequent and meaningful feedback, landing in that mid 60% range in the most recent wave. Where the opportunity here shows up is in that drop in follow through. So 49% of employees feel that Mountain Lion takes employee feedback seriously. A good way to initiate a likely positive change there is being super intentional with these results to show your feedback is being taken seriously. This is what we're doing. And I know Heather and Sam and the team has already taken strides on that since the survey was closed. So that'll be a good way to have that needle move up there. Next slide. So when we look at job satisfaction, there are some strong positives. 73% of employees say they have opportunities for professional development, and 75% would recommend Mountain Lion as a rewarding place to work, with little fluctuation from last wave. And then at the same time, we do see some softening. So enjoyment of the culture and work environment, you see that dips to 67%, and these staff being supportive and respectful of others drop to 75%. But overall, I think this slide speaks to employees' value, like working here. The opportunity really is reinforcing that the culture and those day-to-day interactions, those little moments throughout the day, will keep satisfaction strong. Next slide. So here on the management side, there are some clear strengths. So 82% of employees say they have access to their manager if needed. And then also at 82%, they feel they're treated with fairness and respect by their manager. So those are strong signals of approachability and trust from the management side. Where we see an opportunity is in responsiveness and inclusion. So you'll see scores at 65% when it comes to managers being responsive to ideas, requests, suggestions, and employees believing they work in an environment where their perspectives are invited and valued. So again, there's an opportunity there to say, we heard you, this is what we're doing with regard to survey results. Overall, the importance is employees trust their manager, so strengthening that two-way dialogue would further improve that management experience. Next slide. Here on employee safety, so 78% of employees feel comfortable reporting concerns and 76% feel informed about job risks and having the tools that they need. While both are still strong scores, we do see a slight dip compared to prior waves. And then the area I think to keep a keener eye on is the workload and stress. With 62% stress level, believe that stress levels are manageable, dropping from that previous wave. Next slide. And here we'll just chat about open responses. So the open-ended comments you see here, very briefly, we obviously have this, in a more complex, dialogue in another slide deck, but just for timing, the open-ended comments you see here really humanize the data. So employees repeatedly talked about, in those open comments about teamwork, supportive coworkers, and pride in serving the community. I pasted one of the open responses that spoke to that. I really think that the people you work with make the job. I really love being with everyone I work with. They are positive and encouraging. We're able to talk to each other, but still get our work done and respect each other's time. I'm sorry. At the same time, they mention communication, training, consistency, and clearer procedures as opportunities, which we saw throughout the results. Pasted a quote here as well. I think company morale among coworkers could be improved, as well as improved communication within operations. There needs to be better communication among supervisors where everyone is on the same page through a set company policy regarding certain situations. Next slide. And just to close things out here, so you'll see next steps. These are really focused on what we chatted about throughout the presentation. So really focused on closing the loop with employees and maintaining the momentum built from the survey. So across the presentation, communication consistently emerged as an opportunity. Employees want to know they were heard and understand what's being done in response. So the goal is really to just demonstrate that employee feedback is listened to, valued, and used to drive continuous improvement amongst the agency. And then you'll see a little further down, continuing to build capacity, specifically in the operations area of the agency, and a continued effort to look for opportunities to engage employees. That bullet I just mentioned about the operations area, that was more prevalent in the agency breakdown. So the different divisions, when we were able to break those responses out, you could see that effort would really help to, I think, boost morale amongst that division. So thank you. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Just a comment, appreciate the work that you all do on this. And I especially appreciate that, you can drill down into the different, into the organizational structure a little bit, understanding that, while all the results point to a solid organization, there's going to be certain divisions and certain areas of the organization that might not be reflective of the culture of the broader organization. So I appreciate that there's that ability to really look into different aspects of what Mountain Line does.
Thank you.
Any other question, comment? Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right, also, Sam, Arizona Mutual Aid Compact.
Yes, sir. So staff is recommending that the Board of Directors approve the adoption of the Arizona Mutual Aid Compact and authorize the CEO and General Manager to execute the agreement. So Mountain Line has always prided ourselves on helping our neighbors, especially anyone that asks for our help. We've always been known as an agency that will go help anyone we can. We assist the police department when we can, Coconino County, City of Flagstaff, whoever asks. This is a picture of the museum fire in 2019. We've always tried to assist the Emergency Operations Center whenever they've asked for our assistance. And during this year was my first introduction to assisting the Emergency Operations Center. I actually sat in the Emergency Operations Center for that entire week during the initial stages of the fire. And I was the transportation coordinator, helping everyone get our resources together as far as transportation. So if we needed them in any specific area, we could respond with whether it was our transportation, the Flagstaff Unified School District, Northern Arizona University, and so on. But during that time, everyone realized that they needed to enter into an intergovernmental agreement, which we did during that fire itself. That was in 2019. So that current intergovernmental agreement is going to expire this month. And instead of entering into another IGA or extending that IGA, Tim Carter, who is the director of the Emergency Operations Center for Coconino County, recommended that we all adopt the Arizona Mutual Aid Compact, or the ASMAC, instead of using the intergovernmental agreement this time. So the Arizona Mutual Aid Compact, what it is, it's a mechanism that allows public agencies to share staff, equipment, resources, etc. during an emergency. And we will have all have already signed it. So in case of an emergency, we can immediately assist our neighbors or fellow government entities without having to adopt any type of agreement prior to assisting them. So that would be one of the benefits for Mountain Line. Also, it allows us rapid access to additional resources during our emergencies and allows us to assist our community and our neighbors during emergencies without having to draft an agreement prior to that. So staff is recommending that the Board of Directors approve the adoption of the Arizona Mutual Aid Compact and authorize the CEO and General Manager to execute that agreement. And I believe that compact was included in the attachments.
Any questions, Dan?
Also, the City of Flagstaff, Coconino County, and Northern Arizona University have already signed it. The agreement, or the compact, I'm sorry, was given to Mountain Line's attorney, Scott Holcomb, and he did not have any issues with us signing it.
Chair, I'd just like to make a motion.
Sure, please.
I would like to move that we approve the adoption of the Arizona Mutual Aid Compact and authorize the CEO and General Manager to execute this agreement.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you both. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Right, that motion carries. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Right now, we have Heather, the FY 27 budget message.
It doesn't seem possible, but it's time to talk about 2027's budget. Of course, Megan is still saying 2024 and 2025, and now we're talking 2027. So forgive us if we get our years mixed up. Ultimately, today's goal is just to provide you with the staff report and kind of the goals with which we are approaching the setting of the 2027 budget. So wanted to just highlight those 5 bullet points or 6 bullet points from the staff report. The goals that we will be using as we set our 2027 budget are around these bullet points. Maintain the ability to attract and retain staff, to continue with efforts to reduce dependency on contracted staff and overtime, and reduce our overall turnover. These efforts will include maintaining the performance-based, non-base building bonus program as implemented in fiscal year 2026, continued focus on staff development for staff to support growth and succession planning. That echoes a couple of the bullet points in the employee survey. Implementation of phase 1 of the approved new org structure to support staff and expansion of programs, and introduction of mentorship programs to support onboarding and development of staff. Second goal will be to continue to improve the customer experience with implementation of an improved fare payment system. Ours is now 12 years old and run its full life expectancy. Overhaul and update the Mountain Line website to ensure the site remains customer friendly and easy to use. And expansion of our Transit Ambassador program to ensure that we have ambassador presence, not just here on the platform and in our connection centers, but on the bus and in the field. This addresses the comments about how many things our drivers have to focus on when they are driving a bus full of people. And then continue exploration with the City of Flagstaff Police to get officers on the bus. I have met with the chief several times. We're looking at a way to at least fund 1 position in the next budget cycle. Not that only 1 person would be dedicated to transit, but by funding a position, could we expand on the walking beat officers at a minimum, riding the bus and having a presence? Some other goals: improve our on-demand transit services to offer customer convenient solutions for expanding mobility through improved same-day service and more scheduling options. So this is taking our taxi program and our microtransit programs to the next level in a very cost-effective and expanded way that doesn't cost us more money and gives them more options on service delivery. Introduce service changes to improve on-time service and service reliability and improve frequency on existing routes as supported with the passage of Prop 488. So that's really looking at some of the reliability or timing issues we're having on our existing routes. How do we fix those, but also continue implementing all those service changes from Flagstaff in Motion in the 5-year plan as supported by Prop 488. And then begin implementing improvements to bus stops across the system. This is being funded by a new award. We were just awarded $4 million under bus and bus facilities to improve bus stops. This is not just building a shelter. This is looking where we need retaining walls to improve bus shelter, to improve the presence of a bus stop, not just a sign stuck in the sidewalk, if you will, pedestrian crossings and other mechanisms to improve that rider experience and their access to transit. And lastly, substantially complete the construction of the Caspar maintenance facility. I say substantially because it's going to extend a little bit into the next fiscal year based on the timing of where we're at. We'll be close, but not all the way there. So these are the guideposts in which we will be using to develop our staffing plan, our operating and maintenance plan, and of course, our capital programs. I wanted to share those with you today so that you had the opportunity, if you would like, to give us additional feedback. Otherwise, we will continue our normal process with additional engagement and discussion opportunities at future board meetings. We will continue to break down the budget process into a discussion on our workforce, so salaries, benefits, and the programs that support them, our operations and maintenance, fuel, tires, parts, software, and capital. We will need to shift things a little bit. So we are in the middle of the 2025 audit. We're a little concerned about the condensed schedule for the 2025 audit sitting on top of our normal budget process. So normally in February, we would bring the workforce budget to you. We're planning to bring that in March along with the O&M, or operations and maintenance. They will be 2 discussions just on the same agenda. That allows Megan to remain focused on timely completion of the 2025 audit. This should be the last time where we have our audit in such a condensed schedule sitting on top of the other work that we need to get done. So with that, I turn it back to you if you have any questions, comments.
Thank you, Heather. I'm wondering where Snowball fits in to the budget. I know this year we had to finagle and do some things.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to lose sight of that opportunity to partner.
So the way we have historically handled Snowball's budget is we do not know during the budget process if we're going to have a commitment for Snowball service. So we always show it as a service expansion with a revenue source. And then when it's approved, we move it from this contingency line item, if you will, into our regular operating line item. So that if it's not approved, the revenue doesn't exist, the expenses don't exist. So we will continue to do that. We will budget it at what we recommend that service level should be, which is what we have been doing for years. The one thing that's going to come into play on all of this is we'll have the results of the operational assessment, which is examining Mountain Express service for your consideration in the future and for those conversations with the different funding partners. But I would continue to budget it as a contingency until we have a time and a place where we know we are not moving forward with that service, if that is the outcome.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Heather. Now, back to Sam with the FTA, Drug and Alcohol Program Audit.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair and members of the board. All right, let me find my place again real quick. So the Federal Transit Administration Drug and Alcohol Program Audit, staff is recommending that the Board of Directors adopt the FTA Drug and Alcohol Program Audit Corrective Action Plan. So this year, Mountain Line was chosen by the FTA to be the subject of a federal drug and alcohol program audit. As most of you will remember, we just finished a triennial audit in 2024. The difference between those two audits is the triennial audit is usually conducted by an independent contractor through the FTA, and they look into various topics such as financial management, maintenance, drug and alcohol, safety, things of that nature. And they choose different items in each one of those categories to review while they're here. It's a lot of work, but it doesn't necessarily single out one program or division. This FTA drug and alcohol program audit was specifically done by the FTA, although they did bring some independent contractors with them, but the FTA auditors were on site as well, and they conducted the audit specifically and only on the FTA drug and alcohol program, the Mountain Line. We were notified that we were going to be part of this audit in the fall of 2025. And the audit was conducted on November 18th and 19th of 2025, so approximately 2 months ago. Yes. So some of the categories that they audited were the policy manual review, and these are just the topic questions that they give us. The policy manual, they also interview the drug and alcohol program manager, or DAPM, which is myself. They also audit your records management and your urine collectors and your breath alcohol technicians, which are all done by an independent provider, which is NextCare. So they did find some deficiencies in all of those categories. For example, in the policy manual, they asked us to revise the policy to state that a reasonable alcohol test may only be conducted just before, during, or just after the performance of safety-sensitive duties. So they're asking us to put that exact language in the alcohol testing portion of our policy. So for the drug and alcohol program manager interview, an example of one of the findings that they noticed was that they want us to submit a statement describing the procedure implemented to ensure random testing can be conducted at all times of the day when safety sensitive functions are performed. So every time we've had a triennial, we have always been found to have this deficiency. We do not have the resources in Flagstaff to provide drug and alcohol testing during all of times of operation that we operate. So the best that we could come with, we used to use Concentra. However, they diminished their hours to basically Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., which doesn't cover near the hours of our operations that we need them to. So we switched to NextCare, and when we switched to them approximately 2 years ago, they were open 7 days a week, and their hours of operation, depending on the clinic you went to, ranged from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Now that's scaled back a little bit, but it's still better than any other clinic in town that can be used. However, the FTA, while they were here, it was great to have them here to get some of their insight, and they did give me a few recommendations that they've seen other people use, like hiring those specific clinicians at NextCare to do testing for us privately versus through NextCare. It doesn't have to be done on a regular basis. It just has to be random to where the employees cannot expect a drug or alcohol test Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So they suggested we hire them to come to our property once every couple months and maybe do a 6 a.m. test. Then the next month, maybe come back and do one 9 p.m. test or things like that to correct that issue. So during the records management section, one of the findings that they noticed was that we need to provide a statement signed by all or I'm sorry, a statement affirming the practice of accessing or reporting the Federal Motor Carriers Clearinghouse has been stopped. So we are required, and one of our findings during the triennial of our drug and alcohol program was that we needed to contact all former employers for anyone that was in a drug and alcohol program within the last 2 years. So we have been reaching out to the Federal Motor Carrier Clearinghouse because they report any drug and alcohol positives for anyone that drives under the Federal Motor Carrier. So FTA does not want us asking Federal Motor Carrier Clearinghouse. We can only ask independent businesses. We can't use the Federal Motor Carrier Clearinghouse to check for prior positive drug tests. So next, one of the other deficiencies they found was this, that we need to provide a statement to the FTA signed by all Department of Transportation urine collector personnel, which are the NextCare staff, certifying that they reviewed a certain FTA policy, which requires the donor of the urine sample to write a date on the specimen bottle. So while the FTA was here, they spent a half day and they went to NextCare and watched them do mock samples. They had them do a mock test for urine collection. They also had them do a mock test for breath alcohol. So during those mock tests, they did find these deficiencies, and because we use them as our third-party provider, we have to ensure that they correct them in order for us to be compliant. The last example that I'll give you is that we are required to submit a statement signed by all DOT breath alcohol technicians certifying that they have reviewed and will comply with the requirements of section 40.241G, which deals with where to document a refusal to take a breath test. So again, there were more than those 5. I was just giving you an example from each category, but most of them are easily corrected, assuming we can get one of the clinicians to do some random testing outside the clinic for us. NextCare has been very approachable and very helpful and willing to change anything they need to make sure that we are compliant. So we did receive the final report from the FTA on December 19th. From December 19th, we have 90 days to make the corrections that they asked us to and submit the reports to them, like the statements sent by the urine collection staff and things of that nature, and submit that to the FTA prior to 90 days from December 19th. And once we are done with that, we will then come back to the board and report that we succeeded in doing our corrective action plan. So again, staff's recommending that the board of directors adopt the FTA drug and alcohol program audit correction action plan.
Any questions for Sam? Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
was this last audit, did something trigger it, or is this just routine?
It's completely routine and random. I've been in charge of the drug and alcohol program for at least 10 years, I would say. And even in the 15 years I've been here, we've never had this happen to us. I think Heather remembers one time 20 years ago.
Last time they were here was in 2005. The report was done while we were Coconino County. Corrective action was done after we became named. That's the only reason I remember that clearly. It was 2005. And many of these types of findings are very common in that we've had them in the past as well. And the challenge, like with the third parties, is they have the same turnover that the rest of the world has. And not everyone sticks to these procedures, and then you have this stress like dating the tests themselves. So,
And we've had numerous triennial reviews where they did check certain aspects of the drug and alcohol program during that review. They just didn't look at the entire program all at one time.
I did offer to check to Chair Mayor right before this meeting that we were told it was a random selection. Sorry, I'm using air quotes because they came from Cottonwood Area Transit System where they did the same thing. They did us, and then they went to Kingman. So they covered the majority of Arizona. So I think this is just Arizona's year to get them, is my guess. If you're a larger system, it is much more common to get these like you have triennial reviews. Smaller systems, they're supposed to be random.
You said the third party provider, how are we as an entity supposed to ensure that they comply so that we can be in compliance?
We all generally go over there and either myself or one of my employees will go in and have a test done. It's still going to count as a random, but during the test, we're watching to make sure that they fill out the paperwork correctly, watching to make sure that they do the things that they're supposed to be compliant. Even when the FTA was over there, they said that they did do some of the things correct, or most of the things correctly when they did the mock tests, but reviewing our paperwork showed them that they didn't do them correctly every time. Like they're required to do if you send an employee for, say, a post-accident drug and alcohol test, they're required to test them for alcohol and drugs, which are two separate tests. The drug testing is for urine, the alcohol testing is done by breath. So they're required to do the breath testing first every time because you only have a 2-hour window before the breath alcohol results start to diminish, and the drugs don't diminish nearly as quickly in urine. So they're required to do the alcohol. They're required to do the alcohol testing first before they do the drug test, which they did when they were being audited by the FTA. However, when the FTA came back and looked at our documents, 4 out of the 5 times that they did both a drug and alcohol test, they did the drug test first and then the alcohol test. So that was one of the other things that they found that they needed to correct.
And is there communication with that third party agency to let them know that they're not in compliance for us?
Yes. So I speak with the clinic manager weekly, and she's very helpful and willing to change anything they need to make sure that we're compliant, because they're going to lose a lot of business there as well.
Thank you.
So one other thing that I will add is we can also conduct audits of paperwork when it comes back to us. If FTA can catch it in a document review, we could have caught it. And if you catch it and you issue a corrective memo and attach it to that documentation, it demonstrates to FTA that you are doing all the things to comply, even when there are compliance concerns with the third party. And so that'll be part of our corrective action plan, is really developing how do we do mock testing? How do we audit those papers? How do we document corrections so that when they come back 15 years from now, we can at least demonstrate those processes, procedures, and the effort made.
And that's one of the reasons we did move, despite other than the hours of service, from Concentra to NextCare, was because when we would document and let Concentra know that they were doing these things incorrectly, they either just didn't care, or their staff came in and out of that place so fast that we were dealing with a new office manager every other, felt like.
Are there any other options if besides those 2 carrier providers if things don't improve?
There are options, but NextCare offers the most service hours that are available on Flagstaff. We are going to attempt, I just hired a new safety specialist. We are going to try to get him and myself both certified to do drug and alcohol testing. I used to be certified probably 8 years ago to do, and Heather as well, to do urine collection and breath collection. So, but both of our certifications have expired, so I'm going to see about getting myself recertified as well as my safety specialist, so we can do, even if they can't do it or not willing to do the off-hour testing, we could do it ourselves. But it will take a couple weeks to months to get that going and completed.
And one thing I want to offer, one of the reasons we let those certifications lapse is it's extremely uncomfortable for everyone involved in the urinalysis part of it, because there are certain situations where it must be an observed collection. And so now you have employees observing employees. If we can get Health and Human Services to tell us how to do saliva testing, which is authorized by FDA, that will help us tremendously in curing some of the things like testing at random hours, because we can be certified and we're not invading someone's privacy, if you will, in conducting those tests. FDA allows saliva testing. It's Health and Human Services that has to tell us how to do the collection and how it will be tested. And that is going on 2 years now that we have been waiting for that. You'll see it again next month on our legislative priorities as something that we feel is critically important. It also reduces the timeline for marijuana testing. That's one of the other real attractions to saliva, is marijuana testing shows in a urinalysis for up to 30 and 45 days. In a saliva test, it's 24 to 48 hours. So it looks like an impairment test, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna ask, man, when you say Health and Human Services, are you talking federal, you're talking county?
Yeah, federal. It has to come from the federal government telling us how to conduct those tests. They oversee it. So we have this conversation every time we're in DC with our federal officials. All of the transit associations are having this conversation. I think it's been a challenging year for everyone in DC. So maybe there's enough resources to reprioritize this. I think with speculation about whether or not marijuana is or isn't legal federally anymore, it could prompt some of this to move faster. I don't know.
They just reduced the schedule that marijuana is. Used to be a Schedule 1 or 2, and they moved it to what, 4? 3 or 4. So
Well,
they basically said that it's not as bad as everybody
the
thought.
president signed that.
Yes,
That does not mean it changed anyone's testing preference.
right.
It has to go through all the filters of approval and signatures, et cetera. So, like I said,
But it feels like it's coming.
2 years ago, they told us saliva testing was approved and we're still waiting. So it's just a process, but I wanted to offer, those are things that we have that we think helps us in our approach to be compliant, because that's always our goal, is to be compliant. But there are limited resources for drug and alcohol testing in Flagstaff. We used to be able to go to the hospital to get a breathalyzer test. We can't do that anymore. So it's just challenging. And we'll continue working on solutions. We'll be back soon.
And the positive testing rate has increased drastically in the last 2 years.
With the legalization of marijuana.
Yep.
We just lost an employee.
Example.
All right, thank you.
Are we supposed to take action? Sorry.
Yeah, you need to approve the plan.
Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Move that we adopt the FTA drug and alcohol program audit practice action.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, item number 16, first mile, last mile update and check.
Apologize for not disclosing this before the meeting starts. But I have I'll get to another engagement at 12 noon, so I need to assist myself early.
But you need to go.
Yeah,
You still have a
I
quorum.
can't, I'm reading the conversation, so
You just have to wait for me.
Okay.
I thought we.
Thank you.
Already. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Stoll.
Oh, wait. Miranda stepped out of the room.
Oh, okay. Gotcha, okay.
Oh, that's just a nice meeting with you, but I don't have to run it. I actually came in person because I thought I had to run it up, so I shouldn't over here, so. Well, if I would have known you were already gonna run it, I would have just stayed virtual.
Maybe if you want to slide back in.
I'm good, you got a vice chair for that.
Right.
Thank you, Board. Ann Dunno, Capital Development Manager. I am here to just give you an update on the First Mile, Last Mile project. This is a partnership project with the city. It was grant funded with about 5.6 million of FTA grant funded, with the city providing the local match of about 5.6 million for construction and about 1.2 million for design. And this project started several years ago with the city identifying as the project manager and their stakeholders, including Martin Ince, who's recently retired, had a lot of feedback into screening the projects, the needs in the community to provide missing sidewalks, pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure for connections to transit, which is the purpose of the grant. And so there was, I think it provided previous updates, but there were quite a few projects identified. The city brought forward and completed design on way more projects than can be actually delivered. Currently, the city is delivering the Fanning Industrial Sidewalk over in that social service corridor near the food bank and the shelter services. That should be substantially complete at the end of January. I will provide a before and after photo. I'll provide that to Heather in a future current events. But this year we are rolling out a big push in 2026 to get the city prioritized with Mountain Line support, completing as many crosswalks as we can with really the majority of the funding remaining. So this first slide shows you the 3 pedestrian crossings, which will also support cyclist crossing on Highway 180 in the ADOT jurisdiction. You will probably recognize many of these are locations that there's been a lot of public comment and requests for improvements. And so we've got down on the south end, the Forest Avenue at the bottom of the hill. That one will be, currently it's just a striped crosswalk. That one will be a raised curb island refuge with the signalized crossing for pedestrian to actually stop traffic. That is the first one. The second one is midway at Anderson over near Star Point Apartments. That was the recently developed affordable housing apartment complex. There's a lot of families and seniors living at this location. That will just be a curb island refuge. We are also able to add a new bus stop in front of the apartment complex. We're really excited to bring that improvement along with this project. And then the most northerly is at the Mead Lane, kind of right across from the south of our bus stop, but adjacent to where the pizza place and some of the folks cross the road there in the neighborhood. So 3 projects. We've got a lot of momentum with ADOT right now. Our final plans are in review. Our contractor Kinney is developing the GMP. So we are aiming to have permits by April 1st and get the schedule from Kinney on, this is the priority to get these 3 done. I'll show you the other 5 we're working on Solier in a moment, but the push is to get these done. That is the push. And the city has a lot of momentum behind that with ADOT. There's a lot of just supportive conversations happening with leadership at ADOT and at the city to make this happen. I want to let you know the city is working with their PR firm, particularly in this corridor. During construction, they will be having extensive, more targeted messaging, public information around the traffic control, because I know there'll be a lot of concerns around that with traffic in the schools. But that is very exciting. Any questions on these locations?
I'm just excited to see this on the screen that it's happening. I live in this area and they're needed. Definitely. So I'm glad that the work is going to happen.
There's a lot of worker bees behind the scenes working on this. And then the other major scope that we'll complete this year is on Solier, which is our Route 3. Route 3 travels Solier kind of from the mall through this area. There's a lot of apartments, Fox Glen neighborhood over by the charter school. So this project will put in curb island refuges pretty much across from our bus stops. Located here, and then we would improve some of them with shelter stops, or the stops that are already shelters will remain shelters, and if they don't have an improvement, they would get a shelter. So that is.
What's a curb island refuge?
It is a standing, essentially an island in the middle of the road that is raised or protected with a curb edge. So if you can't cross all the way across the road in a timely way, you often see them on 4-lane roads like a highway, or even on 4th Street as an example. There's kind of that's a little bit of a lower refuge. Some of these are actually definitely higher, so more protection, visible with signage. Yes, so. And I guess really that completes my report. With any remaining budget after this, the city does have some other projects that were designed with the remaining funds would go towards those, although they'd likely have to contribute other city funds to make a whole project. So.
Any other questions for Ann? Thanks, Ann. All right. There's no presentations on item number 17 and 18, but we do have item number 19, summary of current events.
All right, I'm gonna run through just a couple of things briefly, maybe. Summary of current events. So we've got some anniversaries for December and January. Heather Higgins, who does all of our procurement, celebrating 8 years. Gavin Holzer, who currently serves as a mechanic 1, but started out as a bus washer with us, is celebrating 8 years. Clarice Claremont is one of our supervisors. So she does the shift supervision, scheduling, and feedback to our operators. She is celebrating her 4th anniversary here. And Jeremiah Sheward celebrating 8 years as an operator. Additionally, Rhonda, I'm celebrating my 24th anniversary here at Mountain Line. Robert Hilber celebrating 11 years as our facilities coordinator. And with some of our staffing vacancies, Robert has really taken on a little bit of leadership with our facilities department and actually made sure Greg made it today. Rachel Scala, also a supervisor here, celebrating 7 years, and Metro Plan, Kim Austin, celebrating her 2nd year as Metro Plan's transportation planner. I wanted to point to and make sure that you had noted Mountain Line ridership. If you just go to the website and look at our ridership, you're going to see it looks like ridership is falling. And I tried to, in the current events report, just clarify that yes, it is down, but there are explanations for that. We had a audit of our automatic people counters that resulted in a modification to how the people counter data is scrubbed, essentially. So the people counters might be capturing a passenger as someone who kind of wiggled in and out of the camera zone as a person boarding the vehicle. So they were a standee on the bus, not necessarily another boarder. And so we have scrubbed that data as required by FTA every, I think it's 3 years. And that has resulted in some changes, but also November had 2 less business days, and business days, meaning Monday through Friday, are highly impactful to us. So just wanted to note that we're aware of it. We are watching it. We will be bringing back reports in the coming months to really illustrate where we are seeing increases across our system as well. We did launch Mountain Express on December 26th. And we're doing all of the things that we told you we would do, including surveying riders to understand who's choosing the park and ride, who is not, to try and understand how we do more about that. Hopefully have ridership results in the coming month. And then on New Year's Eve, we did offer free fare service, and we saw a 58% increase in usage from New Year's Eve a year ago. 13% of the day's trips were actually taken between 10:30 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. Just a brief look at Caspar. If you've not been over to Caspar, it looks a little different. So in order to build the maintenance facility, we had to deal with the water and where the water goes. And that required us to build these underground collection units. You can see the one on the left side of the screen. There's actually a human down in that. They look miniaturized. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. That hole was massive. I can remember going over there and you'd see piles of dirt and they'd disappear and they'd come back. That is one of them. That's between the 2 shops behind our building. On the right-hand side, you can see new curb and gutter going in. Here's another undergrounding. and this is on the front side of the property, right? This big culvert?
Yes.
So this is on the roadside. You can actually see some of our employees parked in the distance there. Again, there's people down in that hole. It has been a tremendous effort. It's been interesting to watch. And I just thought the picture of sunset was beautiful. So just a lot of work going on there. Kenny continues progress focusing on the exterior site work that we had to do for storm drain, utilities, and even reconfiguration of our parking. And we are on schedule, a little delayed, to begin the demolition of Shop Zero, which is the garage doors you see from Caspar Drive, mid-March. So we're excited to get that project complete. Before I go on, I wanted to let you know there were some other current events in the report. If you've not read it, it's worth reading, strictly because a lot of them are directly related to and responsive to the employee engagement survey. So we have a route assessment team that includes 8 of our operators that are sitting in on that. We're meeting monthly. We are engaging them not just to hear their feedback and respond to it, but to also offer that opportunity for better participation. And there's some notes about the audits, and I'll just take one moment to congratulate Megan on getting the 2024 audit filed and completed. She came in at the end of and had to figure out a lot of bits and pieces to get it done. And she no more than got that filed on Tuesday night. And she got an audit request for our 220 documents on Wednesday morning. And so that is the reason I presented the budget message on her behalf this morning, because she's continues to stay very focused. So congratulations, Megan, and thanks for all your effort. And with that, that's my very brief current events.
Right, on to, schedule for the next meeting and, any agenda items. The next board meeting is, Wednesday, February 18th. See the agenda there. Any comments, anything worth noting there? If not, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.